Hi, I'm Wayne the Boat Guy, and in this video I'm going to talk to you about 5 things that you might not have considered before boating and what you can do to prepare for those things. This video is just going to touch on the 5 things, and later in the video I'm going to give you my suggestions and recommendations to be able to deal with those types of situations. But of course, you probably have some of your own recommendations and ideas as well. Be sure to put those down in the comments. The point of this video is to make sure that you're safe on the water and well prepared. So number 1, boats can sink. When you go for a drive in your car, if your car breaks down, you can just pull over. It could even be a lonely stretch of road out in the middle of nowhere, but you can always just pull over. You have the choice to sit in your vehicle or walk to get help. If your boat starts to sink, you're swimming or floating, and hopefully you have a flotation device to be able to help with that. Number 2, breakdowns. Very similar to with a car, when a car breaks down, it's a mechanical failure and you can call a tow truck or somebody to come get you. Hi, I'm broken down on the side of the road at this intersection. But when you're in a boat and you break down and have a mechanical failure, sure, you're still floating, but who do you call? And how do you tell them where you are? Do you say, oh, I'm within sight of the bridge? Well, if you're within sight of the bridge, you might be 2 miles one way or 2 miles the other way in a vast expanse of water. So it's very important to be able to know where you are with a boat. And in order to stay put, do you have an anchor on your boat? Do you know how to properly use that anchor to be able to keep your boat where you're sitting? Or is the current and tides going to take you somewhere else by the time help gets there? Number 3, you have to bring it with you. In a car, you can just stop along the way at a convenience store and pick up whatever it is that you might have forgotten or need. In a boat, you got to take it with you. If you need sunblock, if you need drinking water, well, if you didn't bring it with you, or if the boat you're on isn't well stocked with these types of things, you're totally out of luck, because you're not pulling over somewhere just to get a water or a sunblock. Number 4, fuel consumption. My old pickup truck gets 16 miles to the gallon. I know, that's not very good. But if I have a quarter of a tank, I can drive up to the store, I can go to the park, run another errand, and come back home. No problem. Boat fuel consumption is very different, and it's measured in gallons per hour. My little old 19-foot boat with a 1985 Evinrude 90 horsepower outboard motor on it to go from where I live down to Annapolis. Measured out, that trip was 13 miles. In my truck, which gets 16 miles to the gallon, I would have used less than a gallon of fuel. In my boat, I used almost 3 gallons of fuel just to get to Annapolis. And if you run out of fuel in your boat, well, that's essentially the same as a breakdown. You're sitting until you can get help. Number 5, weather. In your car, if it suddenly starts raining, you can turn on your wipers and your lights. If it's wind and rain, it might be hard to see and it'll slow you down. But in a boat, a sudden storm can be extremely dangerous. The waves could overcome a small boat. A storm might make it impossible to see, to navigate, to get home. And if you don't have a VHF radio, well, most cell phones aren't too fond of working in extreme wet situations. By the way, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. By subscribing, it just lets me know that you like the videos that I'm doing and you want to see me doing more. There's no obligations if you subscribe to a YouTube channel. And it's a way to categorize and make sure that you're able to find the channels that you like watching. You just go through and look at your subscribed channels. And for those of you who have subscribed, thank you. So now that I've scared you enough, that at this point you're thinking, I'm never going to go out on a boat. What can you do to try to avoid these 5 situations? Or to be better prepared for them? For number 1, which is boats can sink, at the very least, bring sufficient flotation devices with you. For all passengers, know where they are and how to use them. Have a dependable way to contact the Coast Guard, Boat US Towing, or Sea Tow. Know how to get in touch with them, how to describe your location and your situation. I actually keep a cheat sheet on board of my boat which lists some very valuable information that I can hand to somebody for them to be able to, if they're using the radio or making a call, to be able to call and say things. For example, our boat identification number, what size boat we are, what type of boat we are. That way I can be doing something else while they're calling for help. Number 2, have additional safety equipment handy. The Coast Guard requires certain pieces of safety equipment, but also have extra things handy, like maybe a distress flag, flares and a flare gun, a light beacon, a horn, a can air horn. All of these types of things are ways that you can get the attention of other boaters and be able to let people know of your location and that you're in distress. Number 3, try to have a boat bag. My wife brings a boat bag aboard, which has things in there like bottles of water, sunblock, hats, and a few extra things, a few extra snacks and things like that, just in case we're out longer than we anticipate being out. That way we're not risking getting too hungry or thirsty, which could impair our judgment and our abilities to be able to be prepared for a situation. Number 4, always make sure that you have more than enough fuel for the trip. There's a rule of thumb with boats, and that's thirds. Plan your destination to only use a third of your fuel to allow the other third for coming home and then another third for reserve. Part of the reason for that is sometimes with tides and currents and wind, it can take you a lot more fuel to come home than it takes you to get to a destination. When we went to Annapolis, matter of fact, I actually had 15 gallons of fuel on board, even though I estimated the trip would take me 5. And then whenever I got to Annapolis, I even refueled the boat just so I'd have 15 gallons to go home, even though it took me about 4. Number 5, lastly, always check the weather before heading out on your boat. And don't just look at the weather app on your phone, but use other resources to be able to accurately check marine weather. Check for small craft advisories, storm warnings, wave heights, wind, and then also when you're out, recheck the weather every few hours, just in case the situation changes. There's actually a weather channel on your VHF radio that gives a marine weather forecast. So I hope these things were helpful. Most importantly, it's about boating safely and preparing. So that way, if and when something does go wrong, you are better prepared to be able to survive and not have to panic in a certain kind of situation. It's like people who have a fire extinguisher in their kitchen. You may never ever need that fire extinguisher, but knowing where it's at and how to use it just gives some peace of mind for if there is ever that kind of situation. Being able to react quickly minimizes the potential impact of something so much, something so severe as a kitchen fire. Thanks for watching. I hope this video was informative. Please be sure to put some comments down below. And here's another video picked just for you and a playlist of similar videos for new boaters. Stay safe out there on the water.